Welcome back, sports fans. In this segment, I'm going to recap the Wolverines' 2020 season. The Wolverines season got off with a strong victory over the Minnesota Golden Gophers in Minnesota, where the Wolverines rushed for 256 yards in winning the game and actually dominating it 49-24. Many people thought that this would send them well on their way, undefeated, to their matchup with the Ohio State Buckeyes, if the season were to go that far. However, in their next game against the Spartans, even though they won the statistical battle against them, they wound up never leading the game and lost 27-24. And as a result, Mel Tucker got his first victory of his college career. And also he became the first Spartans head coach other than Nick Saban, and since Nick Saban, to beat the Wolverines in his first year. Their next game was against the Hoosiers in Bloomington, where they went up against Michael Penix Jr. and the undefeated Hoosiers. Unfortunately, their defense was not prepared for him, and he wound up having a big game. As a result, the Wolverines had their first loss there since 1987, and their worst loss there since the 50s. Next game, they played the Badgers in a nationally televised game in Ann Arbor and got absolutely decimated by the Badgers, 49-11. It was the most points the Badgers have scored against the Wolverines in a game and their largest margin of victory ever. Next game, Jim Harbaugh promised the Wolverines would play better against the Scarlet Knight of Rutgers, who the Wolverines have only lost to once in their history. This game was played in New Jersey, and while it was a night game, the Wolverines were not prepared at the start and getting down 17-0. However, they mounted a comeback behind their backup quarterback, Cade McNamara, and he wound up inching the Wolverines closer and closer. But what really sparked them was a kickoff return by Giles Jackson of 95 yards that sent them on their way to eventually tying the game and sending it to overtime. While neither team scored in the first overtime, both teams scored in the second overtime. However, the Wolverines got the game-winning touchdown in triple overtime in hanging on and beating the Scarlet Knights 48-42. Their next game was against the Nittany Lions in Ann Arbor, where the Wolverines had dominated them as of late. However, in this game, while it was a fairly close game, the Wolverines had a bad second quarter. The Nittany Lions were able to rush for over 250 yards and outgained the Wolverines 417-286 in winning the game 27-17. As a result, the Wolverines now had not won a home game, and as it turned out, they would not win a home game because the rest of the season, including their big matchup against the Ohio State Buckeyes, wound up being canceled. And although they tried to play the Hawkeyes after that game also did not occur due to the coronavirus outbreak that occurred within the Wolverines football team. As a result, the Wolverines finished the season 2-4. Jim Harbaugh's future is very much in doubt. However, he managed to survive the season. Unfortunately, his defensive coordinator, Ron Brown, did not, as he was fired within the last 10 days. In the next segment, I will discuss the Ohio State Buckeyes season. Rather, I will discuss the Wolverines-Ohio State Buckeyes game, and some things that you may not have known or read about that actually occurred within that, and things that were said about the matchup not occurring. Stay tuned to College Football Recap on Ed's Sports Channel.